everyone, Yesterday is back, and today I have a review for Avatar: The Last Airbender. And this is not a review coming from a longtime fan who is just gushing about how amazing the series is. This is a review coming from a person who just had their first experience with the show. I had never seen this show before, even though it was so iconic. Of course I'd heard of it. Of course I've heard parts of it. But it finally came out on Netflix, and I was able to watch it in full and just get the whole gist of the show. And this is a show I've heard is like number 2 to Batman the Animated Series in terms of like respected best animated series of all time. So I was very curious to watch it. So I'm gonna just dive into my experience with the show. I actually had a harder time getting into it at first because it was this big new world that they had to build up and all these new rules for the mythology and all these new characters, and it took a bit more of a steady time to build up the characters and to reveal things about them. So it took me a little bit longer to get into it, to really care about all the different characters and to really understand everything that was going on. I was taken in by the animation and by the I was taken in by the animation because I love the anime style and how that allows the characters to be really expressive. And I really liked the animation with the air bending and the water bending. I thought that was one of the first things I really appreciated, how you can watch all the battles and all the action sequences, and you can see all the like intricate movements that the characters do for these for the bending, and I just thought it was really detailed and really impressive that they were able to do that. So throughout the series, I just again gradually the characters grew on me. I like that every character in the series is dimensional. For example, there's the character of Iroh, Zuko's uncle, of course. And at first you might think that he's just an idiot comic relief character. He's just the dumb character who's in the background. But they managed to make him complex because on a surface level, he is just the slow-going character who wants to drink his tea, who wants to relax. As you keep watching him, you see that there is actually a very wise military leader in there, and that there's reasons that he is so easygoing on the outside. I think it's developed that he lost his son, he lost the throne, and I think that it's just developed that he realized that there's other things in life for him than being a commander. He's just like, he's not wanting to fight for the Fire Nation. He's just found another pathway of who he is. And I think that pathway he wants to give to his nephew Zuko, which I'll talk about in a minute. Zuko was my favorite part of the entire series, and I'll just have a whole section off to him. But I liked Aang. I liked his story about how he didn't want to be the Avatar and how he has to deal with the failure. But there's this fun-loving side to him, of course, and that kind of that leads to the conflict in his character. There's a fun-loving side to him that just wants to be the kid that has fun. There's the side that has a lot of responsibility. And I like how in the series you develop from someone who doesn't want to take that responsibility, who is filled with guilt, to someone who always takes the responsibility and always finds a way to come through. So this series, like, it has all of this arcs. Like, I'm not sure about the production behind the scenes, if they had planned just to do 3 seasons and get it all done, or if they just did a first season and saw how it went. But all the characters are just very well laid out in terms of their development. Season 2, I really started to get into the show, again, just because I had known more about the characters at this point. I really liked Toph. I thought she was hilarious. Again, very interesting character to see because she's just this little girl who has all this power, who has the most power. She's humble in a sense that you might think she's not humble, but humility is someone who just knows their own skill, and she knows that she is the best earthbender, and she is. So she was a great character to watch. I always love the overpowered characters as long as it makes sense. I like how each of the seasons is divided into a different, the Water Tribe, the Earth Kingdom, and then the Fire Nation. I like how each season is focused on a different area and a different technique for Aang to use. I loved when season 2 introduced Azula. I thought she was also a fascinating villain. I love how she's able to be a strong female villain, even though they don't really know how to write those anymore, because she has her own ambition, and you might think that her character would be just ambition and just ego, but she is a tactician. She is actually smart. She doesn't always go to take the credit, for example. She constructs it so that she will always win in the end. She could have taken credit for taking out the Avatar, as she thought she did. But she realized if there is a chance that he is not, that he is still alive, then that is going to all come back to her. So that's why she makes it sound like Zuko took out the Avatar. And I just loved that writing, how I knew that she was going to be one step ahead, but I didn't know how. And then it's like, oh, she's got this all planned out. And she doesn't always rush to take the credit. She always has a plan. But it's interesting because she's always this person who has the control over everyone else, it seems, and who has the fear factor. But she gets to a breaking point where she has that fear over other people for so long just to get herself to one point, and then but when she gets to that point of becoming the Fire Lord, then it doesn't mean anything anymore, and so she breaks. So she even has her vulnerabilities. Just very good character writing. So now let's talk about Zuko, because he is probably the main reason why I love this show. I love the build-up, how the seeds of his redemption are built up from the very beginning in just small ways, but they take their time to get there, and sometimes it would frustrate me because I thought the end of Season 2 was the time for him to redeem himself, but it wasn't. But the journey he went on after that, actually exploring what would happen if he got what he thought he wanted, with the acceptance back into the Fire Nation, I just thought that was brilliant to just see how he would react and how he would have to react, and how that worked to make a more solid redemption than we would get if he was redeemed at the end of Season 2. But there's just a lot of setups and payoffs, how he frees Appa at the end of Season 2, and then that's a setup for later, where Appa is actually one of the first people to trust him because he just recognizes his scent as the person who saved him before. So there's a lot of little things like that that you might not mean a whole lot as you're watching it, but they come back later to mean something. And he's just a character you really feel for because you spend so much time with him on this journey as this who initially was the main villain of the show, it seemed. There were little seeds that he might not be so bad. Then Season 2 goes on this big journey about who he is and his backstory. Zuko alone, I thought, was one of the best episodes in the entire series, where it just shows how maybe he wasn't the perfect person from the beginning, but there's always been a goodness inside of him. And it's just really amazing to watch him progress as this character who actually is very socially awkward, and he's very dark and he's very angry, but he also does have a goodness to him. He was my favorite character in the entire show. That was an amazing redemption arc to watch, and it was one of the most consistently written redemption arcs I've ever seen. And the last episode just, they really fired on all cylinders with the final confrontation. Every character had gotten to a certain point, a certain progression. Zuko had redeemed himself. Aang had finally saved everyone. He'd finally gotten over the fact that he wasn't willing to take responsibility before. Sokka got from, the jokester, the butt of all the jokes in the series, to the confident military leader. And it was just like the most completely satisfying show to watch. Now, I haven't seen Legend of Korra. People keep telling me it's terrible and I shouldn't watch it. I don't think I'm going to watch it because I just think they had 3 just excellent seasons for these characters and story. They didn't need to do any more. They're always trying to make more, and I understand that, but I just think that it stands by itself as, I agree, it's one of the best cartoon series of all time. It's one of the best I've ever watched, and I'm glad I stuck through it. It's just such a very well-written series. They have it all... They had it all laid out logically how it was going to work. They had all the characters just very dimensional. And I would recommend it to anyone who wants to watch it, especially for Zuko's story. So thank you for hearing my thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll have more news for you the next time. Thanks for watching.